Hello, it is Sunday, July 18th, 2021. I'm Chris Remo, and welcome to my New York Times Crossword Daily Solve. It's a Sunday, which means it may not be the hardest puzzle of the week, but it will most likely be the longest puzzle of the week because it's the largest grid, as you can see here behind the privacy veil. Before we get started, as usual, I wanted to return to a couple clues from yesterday, and a number of people pointed out a couple of the clues that I either didn't return to or actually just didn't pick up on. And one that I simply didn't pick up on, and I feel very silly about this. A few people pointed this out, including Mitchell Turek from the comments, who wrote, "Good day from Australia. I'm guessing lent feature means a feature that you would lend someone, like the idiom lending someone an ear to mean listening to them." That is absolutely what that means. The answer was ear. And as I've said before, you should never get too hung up on one particular sense of a word given to you in the clue, because very often a big part of these crosswords is misdirection and cleverness and wordplay. And I got really hung up on the religious meaning of Lent, and I think I was further misled because Lent was capitalized, but that was only because it was the beginning of the clue, not necessarily because it was a proper noun. So indeed, it is an ear that is a Lent feature, when you lend to someone your ear. And then there was a clue that was having a gap, and the answer to that was hiatal. And I think I never returned. I think that was one that got filled right at the very end with crosses. And as Ryan Schaefer points out in the comments, if you take a break from something, you go on hiatus, and therefore something having a gap is hiatal. Now, he says he's never heard of that word being used before. To be honest, I don't think I have either. It's certainly not a common word. It's an obscure one. I suppose it makes sense, but I'm not surprised that I didn't jump to it immediately. And then actually there was just one other comment. This was a few days ago, but Alex Halbleb said, "I've yet to solve anything harder than a Wednesday, but I'm getting closer. I got this one about 75% complete before giving up. Any tips on getting those last few spaces?" So I think one thing that has certainly been interesting for me doing this series is that I do all these puzzles straight through. And that's pretty normal for me at this point on certainly a Monday through Wednesday. Those I pretty much do as a straight shot, or did anyway, as a straight shot in all cases. Most of the time, Thursday and Friday as well. Saturday, both because it's a trickier puzzle and because it's not a work day. Often, when I wasn't doing these as video solves, I would come back to it during the day, and that was very much true on Sunday. Again, not necessarily because Sunday's the trickiest, but because it's so large, I would sort of burn out of doing a Sunday puzzle in one shot sometimes. And in addition to spacing out your day and finding time when you can sneak in a few minutes to help yourself complete the crossword, it really is amazing how much your brain will go down sort of different logical pathways, different neurons will fire at different points of the day, based on, I don't really think anything in particular other than things strike you differently at a different time of day because you've been doing different things. You've been engaging in different activities and different thoughts. And so if you're really getting stuck on a puzzle, honestly, I would say just walk away for a bit and come back later. Again, doing these now as these straight shot video solves, that isn't necessarily how I would always solve a puzzle if I were doing it on my own purely for recreation. So bear that in mind. If you're struggling with a puzzle, maybe just walk away for a bit and come back later. And I think you might be surprised how differently your brain attacks a given problem. All right, so with that, let's get going on this Sunday puzzle constructed by Jesse Goldberg. And as always, edited by Will Shorts. Ready to get started? Yes, let's go. Certain music royalties collector for short. Now, I happen to know this because I, in fact, am a composer and I collect royalties through ASCAP, the American Society of Composers and Performers. Is that A and? It's probably not. Oh, well, yeah, I'm not going to sit here trying to remember exactly what ASCAP means, but it's something along those lines. Anyway, it's a performing rights organization that collects royalties when your music is played or when someone covers it or anything like that. They collect those royalties on your behalf. They're not very high, I will tell you. The amount of money you get when someone streams one song of yours is like a fraction of 1 cent. But I'm glad that there's an organization out there scraping those cents together on my behalf. Anyway, Viva Aloud. Could this be Viva Voce? I'm not sure, but let's look at the crosses. Suffix with exist, it could be existent, and that would fit with that voce. Stone memorial. Could be crypt, actually, which is funny because crypt was in here yesterday, so I could just be predisposed towards crypt, but you're probably not, actually, because big exporter of saffron, I suspect, is going to be Iran. So let's look at that and see. Let's look at these. Penthouse perk. A view. If you're on a penthouse, you're on the top floor, and therefore you have a view. So that voce is probably correct. Coffee blank, probably coffee or tea, I would suspect, is what that question is about. Not sure about this stone memorial. Let's look at the cross. Enjoy the food. Well, it could end with it. Stone memorial could be cairn, actually. Like Stonehenge or something like that. I believe you'd call it cairn, or a collection of cairns, maybe. And the reason I thought this might end with it is just because it looks like it's going to be a sentence, and it is the kind of thing a sentence might end with. And also, because of this ET here, it seemed unlikely that these letters are all going to be part of a single word. So that was sort of my thought process there. But I don't, we'll look back on it. Let's look at this one, crush. I mean, this could be crush in the romantic sense, could be crush in the physical sense, but let's look at some of these crosses. Shady spot, I think I looked at that already. We'll come back to it. Less than subtle basketball foul. I don't know if this is meant to be a basketball phrase or anything, but in general, in sports, a foul could be a shove. So let's try that. Temporary road markers would be cones. I don't give a, this could be darn, a damn. I don't give a hoot. Could be any number of things. Let's look at the cross. Part of RI. This will be Rhode Island, the state that was either recently renamed from or not renamed from Rhode Island and Providence Plantations, full name of the state. And I forget if they kept the that extra bit. Oh, a shady spot would be an arbor. Relating to trees, forests, that kind of thing. Enjoy the food, bon appetit. That was probably more obvious than I made it. In fact, wow, I got really lucky there because my inference about that it was completely wrong. And in fact, this was a single word that included this ETIT. And the reason I thought that would be an unusual inclusion in a word is because, in fact, it is not even an English word. So my instinct was sort of correct, but it led me down a very incorrect path. So that's one thing. I often, and I try and do this, I try and demonstrate this. When I sort of take a guess at something, I try to immediately start looking at the nearby crosses to see if we can confirm or deny my guess. Because it's the sooner you can prove a guess incorrect, the better. Otherwise, it'll hang out there for a long time and ruin your day down the road. Mix my metaphors there. Ruin your day down the road. Okay, crush. Overpower. If you crush someone metaphorically, you overpower them. And again, I didn't take into account the metaphorical meaning before. I said you could have a physical sense of that word or a romantic sense of that word. I don't give a darn. That was the first thing I said. That was complete luck, obviously. A pharmaceutical picker-upper. Pep pill? I have never heard that phrase before, but that seems like that might be what it is. So let's look at this. Challenger astronaut Judith. Could it be Resnick? Coolers. Pokes? No. Pokes meaning like a slang term for a jail. I'm actually not sure offhand. This seems like it should be a very simple completion, but I don't know. I either don't know or don't remember the surname of the Challenger astronaut Judith. But this, as a plural, could be an S on this 49 across. So let's look at that. Healthful property of a beach town. That could be sea air, I think. How some bonds are sold. How some bonds are sold. I assume this means bonds in the financial sense, but it might not. Let's look at some more crosses. Himalayan legends would be yetis. And hangout rooms are probably dens, the room, that's sort of general purpose room. Provided tunes for a party in Brio. Sorry, let me fill out this dens. Japanese honorific, probably San. Neighbor of Oman would be the United Arab Emirates, UAE. A sponsor of quite a few things in this city, in London, including Emirates Stadium, where Arsenal plays, just a short walk from where I live, and the Emirates Airline, weird public transit cable car thing. If one commanded something, one led it. And if you provided tunes for a party in brief, remember, is an abbreviation, you DJ'd it. So let's see. A party without cake is something, and probably just has the word just in the middle of it. I assume that is a single word. It could be justice, but that doesn't tonally seem to fit in an aphorism about parties and cakes. A party without cake. So this is probably saying a party without cake is no party at all, or something to that effect. So it's probably diminishing the idea of this party by saying it's just something less impressive than a real party, which would include cake, I suspect. But don't have enough to go on yet, so let's come back. Fuel Economy Authority for short would be the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA. With enough butter. So we can see the beginnings of a theme here, and it's going to be around food, or something related to food, cuisine, parties, serving, things that involve food. Because here it says, with enough butter, probably something to the effect of any recipe is good, or something more clever than what I just said. Here we've got a party without cake is something, and we see that both of these clues are automatically highlighting this both of these answers are automatically highlighting this 119 across. Here we go, which says, chef quoted in this puzzle's italicized quotes. And so we can see now that there are 5 primary theme answers that are going to be quotations by the chef here. And then we have to name the chef. And the chef, I'm going to go ahead and say, I bet it's Julia Child. Now, this is not, that hunch is not enough obviously to be confident about right off the bat, but we could look at the crosses and see. And yeah, I already think this is correct, because to protrude is to jut. Something protrudes, it juts out from something. So there may well be another chef whose name is a total of 10 letters and starts with J, but Julia Child, who is a well-known and quotable chef, is probably the one. Handy, not sure. Caffeine-rich nuts would be cola nuts, I think. What may make the grade? Test. A test is graded. If something is handy, it is of use. Letters on an F-22 Raptor, that's probably the U.S. Air Force, USAF. A serious divide is a rift. If one is born with a silver spoon in one's mouth, one is fortunate. A meal at which parsley is dipped in salt water, I think, would be a Seder. New Jersey, city on the Hudson, I don't know. Laissez blank would be laissez faire, meaning sort of do as one wishes. Stay alive in dodgeball. Oh, still alive in dodgeball, sorry. So that's an adjective, not a noun, which means it's unhit. You have not been hit, so you are still alive, so to speak. Direct. This is direct as a verb, so if you direct something, you steer it. One given onboarding is a hiree. Once you are hired, you are a hiree, and you are then onboarded. A New Jersey city on the Hudson. Well, now, I don't know this city, and I don't really know very much about the geography of New Jersey, but we can see that NJ is abbreviated in the clue, which means there is going to be an abbreviation in the answer as well. Now, Lee is probably not an abbreviation of something. That sounds like a name. So probably we've got to assemble the abbreviation out of these first letters, and a very common abbreviation in city names the world over, really, in different languages, is Saint. So this is probably Saint Lee or Mount Lee. It could be, I mean, I guess it could be other things as well, but I bet it will be Saint or Mount. So let's look at, it's neither of those. It is absolutely neither of those, because if one stamps something out, one snuffs it out, and that leaves an F here, which is Fort Lee, which I should have guessed because, well, I guess I shouldn't have guessed that, but I definitely should have guessed it's not Saint, because Saint Lee doesn't sound like a saint to me. This I bet will be Unix, whatever it is. What the Unsullied Warriors are in Game of Thrones. I've never seen Game of Thrones, so I don't know who the Unsullied Warriors are, but I'm going to bet that they're Unix because I can't imagine what other word would fit in there. This is blank lepton, elementary particle. I'm no physicist, but I suspect this is going to be tau, because that's the kind of thing you get in physics. Mount Blank, California volcano. I happen to know that that's Mount Shasta, so lucky me. Many a rescue dog, I suspect would be a mutt. Sponge-like. If something is sponge-like, it is necessarily porous, because that's how it soaks up whatever it is that it soaks up in order to be sponge-like. A Large Hadron Collider bit is probably an ion, I suspect. Again, I'm no physicist, but that seems like the sort of thing that would be in the Large Hadron Collider. The Cardinals on scoreboards, this will be a sports thing. I'm going to skip it for now. Words to live by. Now, ordinarily, I would assume this would be a creed or something like that. Not sure offhand. Let's look at the cross. If one is serious... I was immediately already starting to read this as an adjective. One is seriously hurt, but in fact, this is a verb. When one seriously hurts another, one maims them. Words to live by. Motto is what this is. One lives. Those are words to live by. The only time to eat diet food is when you're waiting for... Oh, I don't know. It could end with book. Maybe it could end with cookbook or something. Let's look at this cross. It's not the whole thing. A piece, I suppose. And then that's cook. That makes more sense than book. I don't know why that wasn't the first thing I thought of, but I don't know what the saying is. So let's keep looking. Word with noodle or nap. Wet noodle, I suppose. Wet nap. Not sure what a wet nap is offhand, but it sounds like a thing. Rank for a rear admiral. I'm going to guess that is 2-star. 2-star admiral. That sounds like a thing to me. Sounds plausible. I enjoy cooking with wine. Sometimes, I bet I know what this is going to be. I bet it's going to be something like, sometimes I even put it in the food. Maybe it'll be exactly that. Put it, and the reason I say that is because I see in the food, and that sounds like the kind of joke people make about alcohol. Sometimes I even put, wow, that worked perfectly. Let's look at the cross. Critical. Now this could be critical, meaning vital as in important, which it probably is because there's a V there, or it could be critical as in someone has a negative opinion of something, but it's probably vital. Welcome to the Jungle rocker from, that would be from Guns N' Roses, Axl Rose. His name is spelled without an E in Axl, so watch out for that. Toughest period of the school year, that's probably exams, I would think. Pite blank destination for a Muslim pilgrim. Not sure offhand. Let's move on. Crispy something. I'm going to bet it starts with a K because it's a brand name with a K, and that's usually what happens. Crooner Mel Torme? Mel Torme, I think. Oh, this is Krispy Kreme donuts. Sorry. Like voile and chiffon. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. Voile. Anyway, it's probably sheer. It's probably a sheer fabric is what that is. Let's look here. Member of La Familia. It's got to be mama, surely. Cause of a smartphone ding, perhaps. That would be a ding, probably meaning a sound rather than a dent, because it looks like alert is in there. I don't know what the rest of it is, but let's look at this cross. The only time to eat diet food is when you're waiting, while you're waiting for. This K looks kind of odd here, actually, to be honest. Something, well, I'll just come back to it. Maybe I might have done something wrong. Same here is probably, if one says same here, what you might mean is so am I or so do I. It could be either of those, really, depending on the context. So let's put so in there and look at the crosses. She turned Arachne into a spider after losing a weaving contest. Oh, boy. Oh, another Greek myth. I sort of vaguely remember this story, but I don't remember who this is, unfortunately. If one wags a finger at someone, one... You know what? Actually, I put so in there as though I were certain of it, but now that I think about it, same here. Could be as am I or as do I. It could be either of those. So, and yeah, I think it is the as, because waves a finger out would be scolds. That makes more sense than what I was putting in there before. 1975 Wimbledon champ, I think, is Arthur Ashe. A guitar part. Guitar parts. What are the parts of a guitar? It's got a neck. It's got a fret. I'm trying to think of 4-letter things. A pick isn't really a part of the guitar. I've got a hole. It's got pegs, but that's plural. I don't know, actually. Weird. That seems like it should be very obvious. I'm sorry if it is to you. Let's see. One of Abraham Lincoln's is in the Smithsonian. I mean, I don't have a clue about this in reality, but just based on the length and the letters, it could be toe. One of his toe. Could that possibly be true, that one of his toes is in the Smithsonian, like a sort of saint's relic? I don't know. Let's look at this one. Separate. Well, that could be detach. So let's, yeah. And then that would make this as do I, which seems, so it's probably not toe. One of his hat, which would make scolds incorrect. This whole area, I could have a whole bunch of different answers that are all plausible, and I'm putting myself on a wild goose chase. Guitar part. I mean, this DC thing doesn't look right at all to me. I'm guessing scolds is incorrect. I'm going to leave this area for now and come back to it so I don't get sort of dug down a rabbit hole. Snacks that sometimes come in sleeves. Let's see. Well, this looks like it could be the only time to eat diet food is while you're waiting for the steak to cook. So that's probably what that is. And I say that because that K, I was sort of skeptical of it, but steak is certainly something that makes that work. So I bet that's true. So in other words, wags a finger at is definitely not scolds, or at least it probably isn't scolds. So what would that be? Could it be shushes? That doesn't fit. Waves a finger at. Sometimes when I'm thinking about this sort of thing, I sort of act it out or try and put myself in the position of doing the thing so I can try and think of what words might be used in this context. Well, I'm still not sure offhand, so let's come back to it. Well, at least we know this could be so do I or as do I, but because of that D, it probably will be an O. So snacks that sometimes come in sleeves, now that looks like Oreos. Blank o'clock when happy hour begins. I think that would be 4 o'clock, probably. It's what they want here. Reverse could be undo or redo. Mac. I wonder, could this be instead of 4 o'clock? Because it does seem a little early for happy hour. Could it be beer o'clock? I would almost expect there to be a question mark in there if that were true. Gastric acid on the pH scale. Okay, well, this is on the pH scale, which probably means it's a number, and that means it would have to be a 3-letter number. So it could be 1, 2, 6. And I think anything higher than that, well, 1 wouldn't fit, but also wouldn't be an acid anymore. It would be a base. So let's look at the crosses. Word mistakenly heard at a Springsteen concert. That'll be a misheard lyric. I don't know what that is. Reverse. So if gastric acid were 1, this could be undo. And I don't think the other options work. So, and yes, attribute and verse is an ode. I should have just looked at that one first. Gastric acid, that'll be a 1. So this is beer o'clock, not 4 o'clock. It's a pun, even though there's no question mark on it. Mac, I suppose bub, a sort of slangy way of referring to another person. And then a word mistakenly heard at a Springsteen concert is boo. Word mistakenly heard. What does that mean? Is there a word in one of his songs that sounds like boo? I mean, the rest of these all look correct. I'm not enough of a Springsteen aficionado to understand what that means. Quizzical responses could be something like, huh? Huz with S? Let's look at the crosses. Boardroom plot. Oh, I don't know. Let's look at this. Change from portrait to landscape, say. Change from portrait to landscape, say. I mean, I think of that as sort of you reframing something, you rotate something. I guess rotate is what it is. Host's offer at a housewarming. Oh, a tour. You offer to give someone a tour because it's a new house. A Japanese port near Sapporo or Sapporo, I don't know. And I don't know that either. I hope this vacuum cleaner isn't too bad. I'm sorry if it is. Just occurred to me that you might be hearing a vacuum cleaner right now that someone's vacuuming. Any set of elements in a column on the periodic table. I guess a group. Locks up shop. So that question mark makes me think. I don't know. I'm gonna come back to it. I'm actually starting. Vacuuming is actually starting to distract me. I feel as though I'm losing my concentration. If something is underway, it has started. I think that's what that means. If something is neither red nor blue, I think this is referring to political parties, independent, in other words, not red or blue, which in the United States would be Democratic or Republican, or I suppose in the United Kingdom would be the Labour or Conservatives, but there are other major parties here as well, so wouldn't necessarily be independent. War zone danger for short. An IED, an improvised explosive device. Tons. I don't know. Boy, I'm really worried about that vacuum. Sorry, just give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I was just really worried that vacuuming was coming through on the microphone, and I don't know if it has been. I suppose I'll find out later, but I hope it wasn't. Okay, let's see. If you're alone in the kitchen and you drop the lamb, you can always just pick it up. Something question? I don't know. Affixes as a cloth patch. That's probably irons on. A benchmark or to benchmark. It could be a verb or a noun. I'm not sure offhand. Okay, part of NGO. That's a non-governmental organization. And whatever we have is itself an abbreviation. So that would be an organization. Because we needed to use that R in the middle there. A pair of quads. An octet, I suppose, because a quad is a group of 4, potentially. Florida attraction with 11 theme pavilions. I think this is Epcot at Disney World. His wife could eat no lean. This is a reference to the Jack Sprat poem that was also referenced a few days ago in a puzzle. Family name in Steinbeck's East of Eden. I don't remember. Chicken or veal dish in brief. Parm, I guess. Not that this matters at all, but it's traditionally in Italian cuisine. These are not things. Chicken parm or veal parm. Parmigiana is specifically an eggplant or aubergine dish. Okay, that's it for me. Oh, this isn't octet, it's octad, I think, because we're matching the version of the word that is quads, because this isn't quartet, which is what octet would be the equivalent of. And I was prompted to make that correction because when I saw that's it for me, this looks like I'm done. Beethoven's Third Symphony is the Eroica Symphony. That's what it's called. Something that is Saharan is arid, very dry. First name in fashion. Here's another first name that we talked about, I think, yesterday. In other words, a notable name, but also literally the first name, the given name. This will probably be Coco Chanel. Focal points would be loci. Classic Langston Hughes poem. I think this is I2. To move quickly informally is to motor. A Room of One's Own novelist Virginia Woolf. Now let's look at this again. If you're alone in the kitchen and you drop the lamb, you can always just pick it up. This looks like going to, who's going to know? I think is what she asks. Who's going to know? I mean, that's true. No one will know, probably. Benchmark is a norm, so sort of a standard is what that's referring to. First name in Steinbeck's East of Eden. Still not seeing it. Exist. It could be are. If they exist, they are. Outfit. This could be a verb, to outfit someone or something. Drink garnished with nutmeg. It's probably a nog, like an eggnog. Something that's gone bad if it floats when placed in a bowl of water. That's what an egg does. Let's look over here. The Powerpuff Girls, for instance. This will be a collection, and it must be a trio. To outfit is probably to rig. If you rig something, you outfit it with whatever. Merit, this probably means a verb here, earn. Fetch, probably fetch is to go get something. A party without cake is, maybe it's just a meeting, I bet. Is something just a meeting? Let's look at some of the crosses. Comedian menage. Oh, this rings a bell. Hassan, maybe? Let's look. Yeah, main artery aorta. With enough butter, anything is good? Anything is good? Yeah, there we go. How some bonds are sold at par, I think is probably what that is. Emmy-winning FX series created by Donald Glover, I think is Atlanta. I think this is Hassan. Sportscaster who memorably asks, do you believe in miracles? I don't know. Let's look at the crosses. Actor Jason, who was once on Britain's national diving team. A lot of sports today. Don't know that either. Could be Bentham. I mean, that would fit. Four-stringed instruments. Probably celli, plural of cello. Or it could be violi. Financial advisor sues, dry with a twist. To dry something by twisting it is to wring it out. Milk prefix would be lacti. A dirty look would be a scowl. Jason, actor. I somehow completely glossed over the actor part. Actor Jason Statham. I went straight to the sports part and didn't look at the much more helpful part of the clue. At least more helpful to me and probably most people, to be honest. Sci-fi intro to forming, probably terraforming to sort of modify land. Okay, so the four-string instruments is celli. Sportscaster who memorably asked, do you believe in miracles? This could be Al Mitchell. That looks like maybe not enough letters. Let's look at some others. Foul, I mean, this could be foul as a verb or foul as an adjective. Even once. Ever. In other words, if you don't do something even once, you don't do it ever. LA neighborhood referenced in Tom Petty's Free Fallin'. I mean, I know that song, as pretty much everybody does, but I don't remember what neighborhood is mentioned in it. NASA spacewalk. Oh boy, this is an acronym I've seen a bunch of times and forget. I always forget. I don't remember offhand. try to win something is to vie for it. Page, who became the first openly trans man to appear on the cover of Time magazine. Was this Elliot Page, I think? What's his name? Curses. These sports questions. I think that's what that is. Foul. If something is foul, it is vile. A NASA spacewalk. I think this is EVA. This is probably Michael's, because this combination of letters with respect to a name, that's got to be what that is. So this LA neighborhood is Reseda. Okay, I don't know that. So I'm glad I got the crosses. At least I think I did. Okay, a party without cake. I mean, this could be simply just a meeting. Does that work here? Coolers. Oh, it is pokies. Didn't I say that before? Huh. It's a slang term for a prison. Maybe I said it was pokes and that was not enough letters. I can't remember. Okay. Backbone of Indian classical music. Oh God, what is this? Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue and I can't bring it to mind. It's really annoying. Earth tone. Could be a color. What else could this possibly be? I mean, I could have simply wrong. Because this could be raga. I think that's the Indian classical music I'm thinking of, which would make this really just a meeting. So yeah, I think that's what that is. And that's why I couldn't bring that word to mind. Okay. So retin A target, body science. Body science is anatomy. Filmmaker with a distinctive style would be an auteur. Earth tone would be écru, I think. Boardroom plot. Boardroom plot. Now it's got a question mark. So what does that mean that it has a question mark? Tune first introduced in the 1945 short Odorable Kitty. That would probably be Pepe Le Pew. Boardroom plot. What does that mean? A grape? Quizzical, graph. Oh, of course. Yes. In a boardroom, in a corporate boardroom, they're going to be looking at graphs of stock prices and profit and loss and all that kind of thing. And then this quizzical response was my initial guess, which was, okay. Locks up shop. Locks up shop. So it looks like a shop pertaining to locks up, a salon. Because in a salon, you could get your hair styled. You could get your locks put up, is what that means. Tons. Well, this looks like it would be a taru. Tons. Yes, of course. Tons of something is a load of it. So there we go. Okay, we're back to this corner. Same here. This is surely as do I or so do I. So let's look here again, because wags a finger at feels like it should be straightforward. So this is either starts with SH or it starts with OH. OH seems pretty unlikely. Let's look at S. If one wags a finger at someone, one. Why am I not seeing this? I feel very dumb. One of Abraham Lincoln's is at the Smithsonian. This does seem like hat. This seems like it must be hat. Cause of a smartphone ding, perhaps. Guitar part. I mean, it could be pick. I mean, that's not really a part of the guitar, but it is a thing that is associated with the guitar. Let's look at this 118 down. Candy aisle name. Could be C as in C's candy. That doesn't... This critical could be wrong. Could it? Boy, this is a perfect example of when someone asked, and I was talking about how to get those last few squares in a puzzle. Sometimes you just walk away, and I probably, if I were doing this on my own without the video, I probably would do that in this case. And then I bet I would come back and have no problem at all in an hour or whatever. guitar part. This is ridiculous that I can't think of what are the parts of. Oh, a neck. I already said that earlier. And then I think I ruled it out because we had something else somewhere here. Oh, wags a finger at, shames. Cause of a smartphone ding is an email alert, neck. And then she turned arachne into spider. That would be Athena. That makes perfect sense. And now we have as do I. And there's the puzzle. So it all comes together in the end. All right. Sorry for that waffling towards the end there. We got there. Not too bad a time, actually. 35 minutes as a video solve on a Sunday. I'm perfectly happy with that. All right. Trying to think if there's anything to mention before taking off. I did an extra video yesterday, which was I sort of just sped through 6 mini puzzles on the New York Times crossword minis, which I believe, as some people have mentioned in the comments over the past couple weeks, I think they publish free mini puzzles. So if you want a tiny little bite-sized crossword to spend, I mean, honestly, a few seconds or a few minutes on, you could check out the mini puzzles. And if you want to watch my video of me running through that, I put that up yesterday, and that was essentially a functional test of a remote setup that I'm trying to put together so I can record these when I'm not in this environment, which I'm not going to be for a few weeks for various reasons coming up. So check that out if you're interested. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this and you'd like to see notifications or not notifications or however you want to do it as these daily solves go live each morning. And then finally, I really, really, really appreciate, I very much appreciate the tips that people have tossed into my virtual tip jar at ko-fi.com/Chris Remo, which I opened up the other day in an attempt to figure out how to make this whole practice sustainable. And essentially, how do I figure out how to set aside this time every day in the long term and not just sort of as an experiment for now. And that is my first stab at how to do that. So thank you so much to everyone who's chipped in. I know that not everyone can or wants to, and that is completely 100% fine. But thank you so much to everyone who has. All right, I will be back tomorrow for the Monday crossword, the easiest crossword of the week. So that should be a nice, smooth, simple start to the work week. And with that, I hope you have or are having an excellent Sunday. I will see you tomorrow. Take care.